Hello, beautiful soul. So you are either curious to know what is in the written report that I've created for human design. So it's the Know Thyself human design report, and or you've bought one and now you're watching it to see what's inside. So I wanted to give you a little run through to have a little sneak peek of what goes into this report. So it's not all my genius work. I have basically written everything that I know and synthesized it in a way that's kind of fun and playful, and it's got this like mythological energy written through it because I don't know, I like to see it through a lens of like the kind of archetypal storyline that's playing out in your life so that you can see this like beautiful narrative that's quite magical, but also there's heaps of like practicality, so it kind of dances between both of those worlds. So it's a mixture of my synthesis of the human design system that also involves the gene keys and astrology, tropical astrology, but also is teaming up with a beautiful company called Neutrino Platform. Well, that's the website that this is from, but the Neutrino Design app. So, this is just a plug for them outside of anything to do with me. The Neutrino Design app for human design is the best human design app that I have ever found. It's a very comprehensive kind of walk through your design and other people's charts and that kind of thing. So if you want to keep your chart on hand on your phone, do get that app. It is a paid thing. I don't remember what it is off the top of my head, but essentially, if you really are taking human design seriously and would like to experiment with it and have kind of like your chart on hand, and you can look at different things at different times, look at other people's charts and, have when it comes up in conversation, that kind of thing, it's really handy to have it on the app. But this particular report is teamed up with them. So it's the same information that you get on the app through their platform, but I've added in my own information as well. So you get like actually so much more than what like an app would tell you. For each of the gates, there's huge write-ups. We go really deep and lots of layers, but it can be quite overwhelming. So I wanted this video to kind of just give you a walkthrough what it entails, what you get. But it's kind of like just like you have it forever. Refer back to it. You might spend 6 months just looking at one aspect of that report, and that's perfectly okay. And actually, I encourage that. I don't want you to read the whole thing, get overwhelmed and go, yeah, but also what the hell do I do with this now? Like I'm paralyzed by information. So even though you have it, maybe you could take it as like, one day a week or one half an hour every week. You sit with that chart, you open up the PDF and you go, cool, I'm going to look at what this center is. And I'm going to get my head around that. I'm going to look at my chart and I might, understand what it means to have a defined G center. And, here's the write up from it. And maybe you might Google a few other things to get some different perspectives or, whatever. So you just spend time in it. And piece by piece, element by element, you can start to work on different aspects that are evident in the report and start to build a deeper understanding of yourself. Now, I'm not a huge fan of written reports myself because I'm a very kinesthetic learner. I love having conversations. I love to be able to ask questions on the spot. So I also understand that element, but I do know that some people find it challenging to either find the time to get a reading, the calendars don't align, or just a price point thing. They can't afford to do a one-on-one reading. So this is kind of like you get the reading, it's just a matter of you actually reading it, and understanding it and being able to, synthesize and integrate that information. So I get that it's not going to answer all your, solve all your problems in your life, but it's got everything that you could ever need to know about yourself, through a human design lens. And then, then you might want to do a follow-up session. So you could book a cheaper session with myself or somebody that you like, and ask the questions and go, oh, I read about this, and can you explain that to me in a different way? Or you might Google and watch some different YouTube videos about that thing and go, oh, now that makes sense. And I can see how, my, the write-up for me, how that kind of plays out, through just hearing it through other people's voices and lenses and languages. So let's do a little run through of the chart. Okay. So this is what the report will look like. It's very me to start with. So you'll step into the Know Thyself Integrated Human Design Report. The integrated just means it's got some other things integrated into it. It's not just straight human design. So for the purists, maybe that isn't for you, because I do kind of add some of my own wilder flair to it. This is just a cheat sheet that you get to understand, you know, there's lots of nuance in human design. It brings in the planets. It brings in these different systems, the chakra system, the Chinese I Ching. And so with this, these layers, this richness of and the complications within the system, we want to look at things like, if you were to look at your chart, right, this is what it looks like. And you might have, this line colored in here, and your friend might have that line colored in, but you express it very differently and you want to know why. And so the first layer is understanding what that gate means, and you can look it up in your report. The second stage would be, okay, what planet is it in? What planet is in that gate? The moon. So for you, it's a moon expression. For your friend, it's a sun expression, or a Saturn, whatever. And so then you would look back at this sheet and go, well, what does the moon represent? Feelings, home, nourishment. So the theme of that gate, you would apply to those themes. So see how you can get this deeper, even deeper layer to your own understanding of yourself, beyond the genericness of things like human design, and popping in, getting a kind of automated chart reading. That just adds the layers, and that's what I would do in a reading. So you kind of get it, but you have to get there yourself, if that makes sense. But it is I guess a more affordable and easier access kind of way to get the information. Okay, so you obviously get your beautiful chart. It will tell you, everything you kind of need to have on file, so you could screenshot that, keep that in your phone if you ever need to quick draw it out for whatever reason. But it gives you lots of information down here, and essentially the whole PDF is going to go through, what all of these mean. It's going to break it all down for you. And these just are different aspects of who you are. So this is the lens that you come at your life from. For this chart, it's a 4-6 profile. The type of aura that you have. The strategy to use that aura, how to use that aura. So to respond to life as it comes to you. The authority, the thing that I'm here to listen to or know about that does drive a lot of my behaviors. My incarnation cross, this is like themes that play out in my life that I'm here to master and work with to feel empowered. My definition, what it means to have splits in my design. There's a whole thing on splits because I don't think there's enough information on splits out there. So I do really dive deep in the report. So if you do have splits, you'll understand what those are on a deeper level. What your signatures are. So these are like, driven by satisfaction versus feeling frustrated when you're not in alignment. Your cognition, your determination, your environments, your ideal environments. There's big write-ups on the environments. There's write-ups on your variables. This is going more intermediate. So again, have this forever. Come back to it whenever you feel ready to take the next step and learn and integrate the next aspect of this system. It's not I need to read it all now and know within a week everything about human design. It is a years and years and years kind of process. And so this will always be here, come back to it when you're available to it. So every single aspect of these gets broken down. Then we also get really cool things to know, like your Saturn return dates, your Chiron return date, your Uranus opposition date, and you can pop them in your calendar, and you can even book in readings around those times because they will give you a new layer of, who you are and what you need to know about yourself as well. So then it goes through, what it means to have a defined head, and it will explain that to you. And it goes through each of the chakras in the blueprint, in the body blueprint, and explains to you, what that means, and when it's in its positive kind of aspects and when it's more in shadow and what that means. And look, there's 74 pages, so you could just keep going. So it basically covers all the centers. I'm going to move a little bit quicker here. It's got all of the channels. So channels are really, really important to know about. So looking at each of your channels, and there's big write-ups on each of the channels. You've got your gates. So then it breaks down all the individual gates. So when we look at what our, if we come back to our chart, these are the gates. So looking at what this one number represents and going down to the gates, you get these huge write-ups. So I've really had a lot of fun writing the gates. That's one of my favorite things to explore. And I've written these, you do have like the summary here, but then there's these new layers like your mythic earth archetype. So I've kind of put each of the centers and themed them with these like mythological kind of beings so that you can really start to understand, like, I guess, like the mythology of that archetype, of that number, of that energy. But also, like, so we do it kind of a little bit fun, and then we bring it right down to the ground and we talk about, like, what that would even look like. What does that person value with that, that gate in their design moon? That's so they would look at, what your values are. So you get to understand what you actually value, what you're blueprinted to value. It looks at your blueprinted shadow, and your limitations, the things that challenge you, the things that you, the themes that play out. So this one in particular has got avoidance, and when you alchemized your energy, when you move from the shadow and you've integrated it and you've looked at it, how are you working with it in a more holistic way? And then we come into the practical terms, like, super practical advice, like embrace your emotional highs and lows, use your experience to gain deep insight. Like, it's just really kind of basic stuff. So it takes you on this full journey of, like, let's look at it through a really mythological, fun, playful fairy tale kind of lens. And then also let's bring it into our really mundane reality. So then it gives you a message, that gate would give you a message and what it's all about. So then you can carry that out when you're playing with and experimenting with your expression of all of these parts of your design. Like, you can really see what you're weaving out there in the world and what the transmission of it is. And and then we have these like little archetypal write-ups for each of them. And then goes even deeper with looking at the line numbers and stuff that you've got too. So that just goes for days. You're going to have a lot of gates to explore. And then we talk about your type. So this goes to aura type, and get a big write-up on the aura types, and the ones that I've created too. So we've got the what you're like when you're in your survival state, what you're like in your thriving state, when it's integrated, some key codes. You could write those words down. You could make backgrounds for your phone to remember, all that kind of fun stuff. And yeah, so this is your authority stuff. So look, there's just so much information, and I know that can be really overwhelming, but it's not designed to overwhelm you. It's designed to give you kind of like a master copy of all the things that, make you you, or not all of them, of course, we can't put it all on paper, but some key themes to explore to get to know yourself on a deeper level when you're available to it. This is a lifelong relationship that you're building with yourself. So use this as like a starting point when you're feeling lost, when you've got some time and you're not really sure and you're like really confused about something. You can come back to this guide and, go and read about your authority and understand, what kind of ways that you're working with your energy and how you're expressing your emotions and how that's running the show and how you can master it. And then you can apply it and go and experiment with it, because human design is really just a massive experiment, essentially. So, it's about like coming in, checking in, picking something that you're running with, playing with it, trying it on, taking it to the streets, sampling it, playing with it, and integrating it and mastering it and understanding it and accepting it and all of those fun things, and then coming back and doing it again. So this is the big write-ups on the profile line. So there's so much information, and you don't really get this level of information like on just generic apps, and even on just the things online, different blog posts and stuff that to summarize the different auras and whatever, and obviously is tailored to you, so you're not overwhelmed by the plethora of other information about all the other parts of human design, and it's just really tailored and specific to you only. So It gives you shadow work to do. You know, there's definitely homework involved. Um, so it's not just a passive, like, oh, I'm going to read about myself and cool, the end. Like, you have to do stuff with this. So again, it's just a starting point. You know, if you're feeling a little bit lost and confused and you know that you really want to know yourself better, because when you know yourself better, you can be something that makes more sense to you. You know, you can be someone who you're inspired to be, that you're motivated to be, that you're you know, very accepting of, because you're being you, versus like wearing all the masks and pretending to tick the boxes and of the things that you don't actually care about because you're just trying to be like everybody else. So if you're at that point where you're kind of done just pretending, you're done surface level skimming in life and done with the kind of common narratives, and you really want to get to the depths of who you are as an individual, this is a really great place to start. And it's then a matter of following the crumbs after that. You know, if you feel called and you still don't understand and you start to work with someone one-on-one in person, then that might be your path, or you might get a lot out of this, you know, a lot of value out of this already, and you're very self-motivated and you kind of get it already a little bit. So yeah, and then just got a little thank you at the end. So, you know, that report particularly is 74 pages. It's usually between, yeah, 70 to 80 pages, depending on, you know, all the things that you've got going on. But I think it's, yeah, very high value and a really easy, simple way to start your journey of awakening to yourself. So yeah, I hope you enjoy it. Love to get your feedback on anything that you really love to learn, or that you thought maybe wasn't necessary to include, or you'd love to learn more about. So I can always keep updating that system, and I'm happy to give you your updated versions too if you've already paid for one. So yeah, see ya.